Thanksgiving has always been a time to be present with friends, family, and of course, food. At least that's what it used to be like. Each guest, including yourself, now includes a toxic +1 to the dinner table who has the power to destroy conversations, hurt feelings, and even ruin relationships. Who is this +1? Why did they do this? We'll discuss all of this and more on today's episode of the Happiness Playbook. Welcome back to the Happiness Playbook. I'm your host and play theory coach, Michael Anderson. Today I'll be discussing life through the paradigm of play theory, a mindset consisting of 4 principles: be present, let go and play, accept and build, and look outward. We've been practicing these principles here in our community for 20 years, and I've been practicing them for 14 years, and I teach them every single day. As you practice play theory, you will cultivate the mindset and tools that will help you experience lifelong joy, because happiness is a skill and skills take practice. And before we get into the content of today, I would like to thank you for liking and subscribing and commenting on this video. In fact, in the last week, we've had 100 people join us by subscribing on YouTube, and I want to thank you so much for doing that. And I also want to mention that we have this podcast on other platforms such as Spotify, or iHeartRadio, and other places that you listen to podcasts. We're still getting back on Apple. I'm trying. Those Apple stinkers over there. But I want to thank you all for wherever you're listening to this or watching, for giving us your time so that we could expand our influence and benefit you even more. With that being said, let's get into our team huddle. To start our team huddle today, I actually wanted to start with our comments, and I want to start by saying I think this might be the first time that I'm not reading 100% of the comments, which is wonderful because that means that so many of you are commenting, but I think there is still a good chance for you to be featured, especially if you have something really interesting to say. So here we go. I'm going to read some comments here. Realize I didn't bring up this page to start with. All right, our first comment for today is from @cliff.questions.answered. I love that. I will answer your questions, though this isn't a question. It is, I love the Happiness Playbook. I started listening to the podcast a few years ago. Love it. Awesome. Thank you for coming back, especially joining us on YouTube. And then we have another comment from @HereComesKayla. And she said, I needed this. Thanks. You're welcome. We really appreciate having you here. Here's another one. This is from @biologist Zach. I can read. Thank you for the positivity. Social media is full of so many unwanted messages. Thank you, Pruvi and Avila, for letting me know about this. Thank you so much. And here's another one. This was our last comment I'm reading for the day, which is @Elaine Augustine. And she said, my son was telling me how he's working on being more positive. Aren't we all? Aren't we all on this journey together trying to be more positive? Because even me teaching this here, I'm not here because I am a perfect person and I know how to be perfectly positive. I'm here because we all struggle with that. That's the human condition. So thank you so much for commenting, and I'd love to hear more of what you have to say, especially with some of the things that I invite you to do. I love hearing your comments. And if you'd like a chance to be featured, please leave a comment, especially on YouTube. That's where I'm getting a lot of the comments right now. So I'd love to hear your comments that way. Last week, we discussed all the play theory principles and how to identify real play. So in discussing all those principles, do we understand? Do we remember what it is that helps us to identify play? I'll give you a hint. That is, if you can find any of the play theory principles at play in the experience. So if you see any of those principles out there, usually some form of play is able to happen. Either it is happening or it's able to happen. So keep looking for those. In fact, I'd like to issue the invitation again to ask you, what is your definition of play? How do you define play? I want to know that. And I actually do, because I want to better help you in your journey about discovering play and finding a happier life. So this week, we're going to be talking about being present, which means attending to the moment, breathing and listening, and expanding awareness. I'm really excited to talk about this today, especially as we're going towards Thanksgiving. And of course, from the mystery, the cliffhanger I left you earlier, who is the toxic +1? Drum roll, please. It is your phone. That's right, your phone. And now you can hate me forever for bringing it up. We all have, this is pretty recent history for us. We've all slowly been bringing our phones to Thanksgiving dinner. In fact, it'd be weird if you didn't have your phone at Thanksgiving dinner with you in your pocket or something like that. But a lot of times we actually bring our phone out during our dinner conversations. And this happens all the time. This isn't just at Thanksgiving. But I thought that Thanksgiving is a great time to talk about the around the table discussion, around the table experience that you have with friends and family. Are you that person who brings your phone to the dinner table? And I think we all struggle with this. They're so engaging. There's so much that a phone offers. It helps us to not be so bored. It helps us to avoid maybe unwanted conversations, especially around Thanksgiving. Maybe you have that, we all know about the story of that interesting uncle that has his political ideas and he's very loud about it. Maybe it's easier to be on your phone. I understand that. But today I want to talk about, this is going to be my approach today, is talking about general knowledge around phones and then applying it back into Thanksgiving. So we're going to be talking about phones generally, what they do to us, why we want to bring them out, and then see if we can apply this a little bit better to our Thanksgiving experience so that we can have a more connected experience. I think Thanksgiving is a great time for that. So starting with our general knowledge, I want you to think about this. What is the purpose of your phone? Why do you have it? Why do you use it? Maybe even think about what was the purpose of the people selling the phone to you? What is the purpose of you buying that phone? Right? There's some different reasons behind having a phone. It's not, we didn't always have this kind of a society, right? So I want to talk to, maybe I'm gearing a little bit more towards the kids here who are either new to phones or have their phones a lot and their parents are always saying, get off your phone. Okay, I'm talking to you right now. So I'm sorry again for that. But let's just say this. I'm going to do a thought experiment. Let's say you're trying to convince your mom, dad, guardian, whoever to buy you a phone. What are the things that you're going to say about that? You're probably going to say things like, I want to stay connected with my friends or with you. Maybe in case of emergency, right? You're saying, what if there's a need that I have, right? That I need to, maybe I'm in danger or something. I need to have a phone. I want to practice my photography skills. I want to fit in socially with my friends. I want to read more. I want to post uplifting content. I want to do schoolwork, or I want to be more productive at work. Now, here's the things that you probably wouldn't say to your parents if you're trying to sell the idea of you getting a phone. You probably wouldn't say, I really need a way to entertain myself constantly. Right? That's probably not a good selling point. Maybe you just say, I want to text my friends all the time. I just want, I do hear that maybe, but that's probably something you wouldn't bring up as much. You wouldn't say, I want to text my friends instead of seeing them face to face. Now, face-to-face conversations, I get it. They're less effective, okay? It takes more planning. You got to figure out how to get together and all this stuff. But those conversations are more important. Kind of like going back to the thing I was talking about with oxytocin just recently. When you see a person's face, it's producing oxytocin in your brain. And because we want that oxytocin, and if we become too invested in our phones, a lot of times we're just scrolling social media for a long time trying to get the same fill of oxytocin that just seeing one person's face would do it for us. So I'm bringing all this up. I know you're going to hate me for this conversation. But think about that. Think about the balance of what you use your phone for. Now, all of these things that you sell as the positives, they are a great way for you to use your phone. They're positive things for you to use your phone. But you also have these other things, right? We entertain ourselves. I've been there too. We sit, we want to entertain ourselves, doom scroll, whatever it is. And so I actually wanted to go into a couple of phone stats here from a few websites that I had looked up today. And you can look at these too. I'm going to put the notes in the description wherever you listen. The first one that we have here is from statcrunch.com. And I thought this was really interesting. This was talking about how much we use our phone, generally speaking. And when I looked at a bunch of different sites, they all kind of came up with similar things. So I thought this was the best representation. And it shows that we use our phone mostly for social media and texting. Almost completely for those. And then the next thing that comes up is games. And then the last one is productivity. We only use our phone about 5% to 7% for productivity. In fact, I have a theory that it steals a lot of our productivity away. Here's another study. So this one is from harmonyhit.com. And this one is, I think, the most recent study I saw on this. There's so many out here. But it says Americans spend an average of 5 hours and 16 minutes per day on their phones. And then it gives even more. For Gen Z, it says 6 hours and 27 minutes. That's 6.5 hours. Like, that's a lot of time. Like, how long are you awake during the day? That's a good chunk of that time. Millennials, it says 5 hours and 28 minutes. Gen X, 4 hours, 48 minutes. And baby boomers, 4 hours and 19 minutes. So we're all on our phone a lot. And now just under that, it says that 53% of Americans want to cut down on phone usage. So we'll talk about that in a little bit too. Here's one more website just to get a couple sources that says something very similar. This comes from explodingtopics.com. And this says, on average, people spend 4 hours and 37 minutes on their phones each day. Individuals check their phones on average 58 times each day. And then I'll just go to this kind of lower one. It says 3 in 4 Gen Zers claim to spend too much time on their smartphone. So there's a little bit of reoccurring themes that we have here, right? I mean, it's hard to nail down exactly what that is, but these are a lot of different stats where the averages have really come out to somewhere between 4.5 hours to 3.5 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. And I got to bring this phone that I always keep on the floor here for some reason. That's why I switched to my other phone, to this phone. It's not a smartphone. See, it looks weird. It's not a smartphone, but the reason I did that originally was because I was spending 4 hours a day on my phone. I saw that on my own stats. Look at your own stats. You'll see it's about the same thing. You're going to see so much time being spent in your day on your phone. So I wanted to talk about this because we need to find ways to connect with others more. And I worry about the fact that we're on our phone a lot because we're trying to connect in some way. I love technology personally. That's who I am. I was just telling my crew about this. I love all of this equipment. I nerd out about it. I spend a lot of time online searching it and all that. So there's fun things to use technology for. In fact, connection with other people has been greatly improved. Like, I get to talk with family who don't live in the same state, and I can see their face over a call. But I so want to be with them in person. And it's okay for that. We should try to make those things happen. So we got to learn to navigate this world. The next thing that I want to listen to is this video from Dave Ramsey, and it is Entree Leadership. It's a company that he runs, and there's a bunch of business people getting together trying to figure out how to best maximize their time. And I thought this was so interesting that he started the whole conference like this. Let's see it.
We increasingly, with these things, have the attention span of a gnat. We cannot keep our eye on the ball without 62,000 times checking this throughout the day. And the younger the person, the more that is true. This is a wonderful tool, but it's also a destructive force. You throw this in a basket when you get home and don't look at it, period. And don't be checking your dadgum emails till 9 o'clock at night and then wonder why your children don't know your name, So you got to be where you is. That's a time management technique. When you're at home, try being at home and working on home and stuff. Set this aside, close the laptop, at least until the little cherubs go to bed.
You might not necessarily be a Dave Ramsey fan, but he recognizes this, as many other people do, that our phones are causing us to have trouble with being present. I love specifically when he says the phrase, be where you is. That sounds a lot like be present, right? And he's, of course, being funny doing that. But we all recognize that phones do this to us. They make it harder for us to be present. And I found this other channel that I love. It's called Monkey 101. It's like this. It's a very new channel. So let's watch a clip from that.
Every morning, Monkey wakes up and, bad idea, checks his phone first. Banana memes, Toktik dances, MonTube clickbait. Monkey attention gets shredded into banana peels before breakfast. Then Monkey jumps into work. He tries to juggle 5 bananas at once: emails, tasks, meetings, side projects, notifications. But instead of balance, Monkey drops them all. Even worse, Monkey procrastinates. Monkey keeps pushing tasks off. Tomorrow banana will do it. But secretly, Monkey brain keeps holding on to the worry in the background. Like Chrome browser with 101 banana tabs open, even when the screen looks clean, Monkey brain keeps lagging. Result: Monkey's brain overheats. Stress hormones surge. Thoughts get foggy. Decisions heavy. Memory wobbly. Everything feels like running through the jungle blindfolded. Monkey doesn't need more coffee. Monkey doesn't need another productivity hack. What Monkey needs is a reset.
I've been really enjoying watching Monkey 101 recently. I don't know. We were just talking, the crew and I were just talking about Monkey 101, and it's just funny. And we all relate to this. We wake up in the morning, we look at our phone first thing, and we start hurting our brain. Like first thing in the morning, like we lose all focus, very first thing. And so, I don't know, I just wanted to show that. But the thing that really got me was at the end, it says, we don't need new and improved, like novel ideas to help us with our productivity. We need a reset. So I encourage you to watch the rest of that video, actually. It's really amazing. It talks about that, like what we can actually do to get a reset. And a lot of it is just putting your phone down, taking a break, and engaging for a little bit. And that also reminds me about the next video that I want to show you. And this is from Dr. Arthur Brooks. I believe he's on a different channel, though, for this. But he is a professor in happiness. He talks about happiness, and he talks about feeling satisfied in life, especially for college students. So he's this really cool guy. I want to watch this video, and I think this will kind of bring us back into the Thanksgiving topic here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
You need to be bored. You will have less meaning, and you will be more depressed if you never are bored. We figured out a way to eliminate boredom. How? The answer is that thing in your pocket with the screen, which you take out even when you're standing on the street corner waiting for the light to change. Is like, I might have to wait here for 15 seconds. What are you doing? You're actually trying to not be bored because the default mode network is mildly uncomfortable because it sends you to the types of questions that you can't get your mind around, you can't get your arms around. Well, that's a big problem. That's a doom loop of meaning. If every time you're slightly bored, you pull out your phone, it's going to get harder and harder for you to find meaning. And that's the recipe for depression and anxiety and a sense of hollowness, which, by the way, are all through the roof. So what do I do to fight that? And the answer is, well, I do a number of things. I have a no device policy after 7 in the afternoon. I don't sleep with my phone. We don't have devices when we have meals in my family because we're there for each other. We're not there for people who aren't there. 3, I have regular social media and screen cleanses where I don't use my device for longer periods of time. First, it's like children screaming in my head. Well, because that's how, dopamine is saying, get the phone, get the phone. That's addiction. But it calms down and I feel better and I feel sort of blessed by the end. So let me say it straight to my kids. Put down your phones. You need more meaning in your life. And so do I.
You can call me old-fashioned, but we all understand this. We all know what we're doing to ourselves when we're spending so much time on our phones. And I love that the things that he says about, like we get on our phones because we're bored. We end up bored and we have a hard time with just that little second, right? We might be waiting at a light, he says, and for 15 seconds, jump on your phone, right? And I love also the ideas that he gave of take a break for meals at night. If you watch the whole video, he talks about a lot of other ways to take a break from your phone, because it has to be an intentional practice, right? You have all the intentional ideas, going back to the original thing of all the things you thought your phone would do for you. And if you let it, your phone will just take over and it'll create its own habits for you. So why are we doing this to ourselves? We know, if you ask anybody, they would say, I should spend less time on my phone. So why aren't you spending less time on your phone? And, some people might call it addiction. I don't think that it's probably the most difficult addiction of all time, but it can be very tough to break that feeling of being bored. And I've seen a couple different studies on it, like, people saying like there's kind of this dangerous feeling of, and I think even Dr. Arthur Brooks talks about this a little bit in various videos. He talks about how we're kind of scared to be bored because that means that we have to approach reality. We have to approach, why are we here on this earth? We have to approach some really big conversations, some of our things that we're uncomfortable with, or we feel bad about ourselves in a certain way. And now those thoughts come up when we're not on our phone. And I think the other reason is we may just not understand the depth of damage that the phone can do to our social life, our conversations. So my invitation to you is to be careful in these things, to take time off your phone. You don't have to do what I did. I did that for my own reasons. It made it a lot easier for me to not spend as much time on my phone. But you have to be intentional. Take 15 minutes when you're working out. Try to not be on your phone while you're working out one time. And then try not to have it when you're at the dinner table with your family. And try not to do it while you're at that Thanksgiving dinner. No matter what your weird uncle's saying to you. He still loves you, hopefully. And I think there's opportunities for us to connect with our families that is really deeply personal and really important for us. So take that moment, connect with that person that you really want to connect with. Just start there and be present. And if you're struggling to figure out what to ask or what kind of conversations starters you might have at Thanksgiving, I've got a couple for you. So here's one. You can ask the table, ask everybody this. Ask, have you listened to the Happiness Playbook recently? Have you subscribed to the Happiness Playbook? Don't you love the Happiness Playbook? These are all really great questions to ask your friends and family. They're really good conversation starters. There's a lot to talk about around this podcast. So, try it out. Try it out. That's what I'll be doing at Thanksgiving this year is I'm going to be talking about the Happiness Playbook. And then when they find it, they will realize, oh, it's more Michael. I love that. So I want to end today with a quote from Eckhart Tolle. I think it's Eckhart Tolle. Is that how you say it? Thank you. Awesome. So he's German-born, spiritual teacher, really great, especially when he's talking about being present. He's written a lot of books about this, but he has amazing, amazing thoughts on being present. This one is one that I connected with, at least around this topic. It says, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. With that, put your phone down at Thanksgiving dinner. That's my invitation to you, and be present. And please comment on your experience. I would love to see how your Thanksgiving goes. I know there will be another episode. Well, I guess there will be one episode that comes right after Thanksgiving here. But please comment on your experience. There will be a chance for you to be featured on the Happiness Playbook. And until then, remember that happiness is a skill, and skills take practice. See you next week. Wasn't that great? Let's take a look at that. That would be so funny. Like, it'd be so unnecessary, which is so funny. Like, or if I had something that I just brought up, I'm like, let's take a look. And then it ends with it, like, it just shows me going like this for a while. Okay, all right. Bring it in.